Hello out there, and today we are outside in the great Florida outdoors trying to get the best natural light for this modification video today. And yeah, I'm excited about the stuff I'm going to be sharing with you guys. Some stuff that I had just a lot of fun with, did a lot of experimenting, so some cool results, sure, but just the process was a lot of fun with these. So I'm going to just get right into the one that I think I like the most, and that is the Kizer Ricola. So the Wakula here I did for my friend Peach Jackson. This one up top is my personal Wakula, so you can just see what the knife originally looks like. A little bit of a difference in the blade shapes because there are the two varying ones. But what I did with this knife was I wanted to leave her a little bit of a still, satin finish and a little bit of just the shiny titanium. That's what she requested as well. So I did a partial ano on the front of the handle and then faded that back to the silver, and so you can see it worked out pretty well. I just Windexed it to try to bring out the color, so yeah, it is a little bit splotchy right now, and there are a couple spots where it didn't come out quite perfect. You can see that right there, so it's just yeah, I don't know if that's a minor detail or a big deal. I can never really decide, but yeah, I just wish it wasn't there. But otherwise, I think conceptually it worked out really nicely, and I was able to get in with a Dremel tool and just sort of polish the area right in here that did get color to sort of keep that, keep the anodizing off of that, so sort of gives it that uniform look. That worked out really well. And then back here I put some color on the clip and on the hardware. So we basically have the silver frame with the colored hardware and clip down here, and then the polished pivot with the colored frame. So again, just contrasting look and styles. Moving up to the blade, I did a partial acid etch. So let's see how well we can get this in focus. So partial acid etch, and yeah, just gave it a little bit of a polish across the whole blade first. So the whole blade got polished, and then did that partial etch and the speckle pattern throughout that etch, and that came out pretty darn cool. So I'm very happy with that. I tried to soften up on this side. I tried to soften up the edges a little bit with sandpaper, and I ended up putting some tiny little scratches in the finish, and I'm not sure if those are even going to get picked up at all. But just some tiny scratches on the satin part of the blade right here. So a little bit of a mistake, but overall, yeah, just the experimenting of this and just, continuing to see what else I can do with that speckled pattern. I mean, there's really no limit. So really thrilled with this one. Came out great. A lot of the execution things that I look for, and a lot of the easy mistakes where you just don't cover up there's still some nail polish here, but you just don't cover up spots, and I mean, there really wasn't any of that. It came out pretty darn clean, so I'm happy with the etch. And overall, this one just worked out nicely. So probably my favorite thing about it is the thumb stud, though. Yeah, the thumb stud just sort of pops, so that's cool. We can move those out of the way now. But the reason why I even got the Wakula was that Peach's roommate, he sent me a knife to modify, and it was the Kaiser Uprising. And he'd seen some of the stuff that I did and wanted something of his own done. And he didn't want anything too fancy, and he didn't want anything too, just crazy out there, but he wanted some color on the frame. And I told him I'd polish up the hardware too. Didn't want the blade touched at all. There go the crickets. But one thing I decided to do was experiment with that speckled pattern on the ano. Let's get the cat hair out of the way, please. On the ano. Take two, get the cat hair out of the way. There we go. Alright. So let's see if we can get this focused. So I did just a blend of blue and bronze and purple on the ano, and then hit it the same way with the Dremel tool to make that speckled finish, and it actually worked out extremely well because it actually adds a little bit of visual texture that otherwise the color wouldn't add. And you know, sometimes if you don't have like texture on the handle or a stonewash or anything, you know, when it looks even the least bit uneven, it can just ruin the look of the whole frame or whatever it is you're working on. And in this case, yeah, I think that all of those little speckles, if we are getting them in focus, sort of just fix that. And then you can't really tell on the clip, but I polished it up and then I did some of the speckles on that as well and gave it the same kind of finish. So yeah, this was a pretty simple thing to do, but I enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, I realized I can get that same kind of like finish on the ano that I've been doing with the etch. So, and this is a cool knife. I'd never gotten to handle one of these too, and that's sort of, you know, anytime someone sends me a knife that that I've never had before, you know, whether it's to work on. Oh, and here's some of those speckles on the sides of the frame. That's cool. Yeah, anytime someone sends me a knife to work on that I've never had before, it's always a treat because, you know, I get to sort of test out the knife too. All right, last one in this set is the Tucson. And this was one I just decided to screw around with, just experiment with. You know, this was part of the D2 testing, so this one has D2 tool steel. And I just wanted to just try out and see what I could do with it. And so all I did was remove the coating on the show side and just polish the heck out of it. And put a little bit of color on the hardware here. All of it's T8, so that's really cool. And I did just a basic acid stonewash on the blade. And at the harpoon point, I did some file work with the Dremel to give that some like ridges. That came out really nice, and I did that before the acid etch. So anytime you do that, you know, the acid etch sort of covers up any imperfections with that, and that works out really, really well. So, you know, had I kept it satin, it just wouldn't look the same color, it wouldn't be nearly as clean, but then the acid etch and the stonewash sort of just makes everything look a whole lot better in that regard. So yeah, that worked out nicely. And then the lock side, I want to talk about the titanium real quickly, because someone mentioned this the other day in a video, just that they think that the quality of the Tucson titanium, it just doesn't anodize that well, and they've had problems with it, and I have too. And so I wasn't able to get a really nice consistent finish. So actually what I did after I got this color was I sandpapered, and that's where like the stressed look comes from. Because if I didn't do that on top of it, it just would look, it would look like a failed attempt, you know, and here it actually looks somewhat cohesive, and this result looks intentional. But yeah, I just wasn't getting bright colors, I wasn't getting consistent colors, and I had to do something. And yeah, so to the viewer who mentioned that about Tucson, he said that after watching my my Morningstar modification video that I did for Ray over at EDCC, that he had the same experiences. And yeah, the Tucson titanium, I don't know what it is about it, if it's how it's finished or just the composition of it, but it doesn't quite take color as well as other ones that I've seen. So I really do like the way the back of the hardware did take that bronze, though. That's cool. And then yeah, I did more of a finishing on the clip, so did some more of the texture, and yeah, that worked out pretty well too. So overall, I mean, I think this knife came out nicely. It's a cool knife too. It's just a really cool, easy, simply put together knife. So impressed with it. You know, there's nothing much to it, and this knife just came back together and like locked up like a vault, and yeah, so good little piece. Not generally a fan of the harpoon, but yeah, it worked out. So that's what I got for you today, guys. Been a while since I did a modification video, but these mods are, you know, all sort of from the past month or so, and they've just sort of built up as I waited for a few of them. So yeah, let me know. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. Certainly your experience with Tucson titanium, or just any experiences at all, I'd always like to hear about as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, take care, and I will talk with you guys soon. Have a good one.